More breaking news to bring you this evening. Senior reporter Tony Plahetsky joining us now from the newsroom live with developments in the deadly shooting of Michael Ramos happening in Austin just last year. Tony, what have you learned?
Well, Brian, just within the last few minutes, we have confirmed through the Travis County Sheriff's Office that an arrest warrant on a charge of murder, Brian, has now been issued for Austin police officer Christopher Taylor in the shooting death of Michael Ramos. We know that a Travis County grand jury for quite some time now has been hearing that case, culminating today with the issuing of an indictment on a murder charge and then subsequently an arrest warrant being issued for Officer Christopher Taylor. Christopher Taylor has not yet surrendered to the Travis County Jail. He will likely do that sometime this evening or possibly tomorrow. Brian, this is a striking turn in this case, a case that so many people in our community have watched since it happened on April 24th, 2020. What we know about the case is that Austin police officers were called to a Southeast Austin apartment complex on April 24th. They were called there by a 911 caller who said that she had seen someone armed conducting a drug operation. Austin police responded, and we know largely from what not only Austin police have told us, but Brian, also cell phone video that was released to the public that captured a major portion of this incident in which Austin police officers were trying to get Michael Ramos to comply with their orders. At one point, an Austin police officer used what authorities call a less than lethal beanbag round to try to subdue Michael Ramos. A short time later, Ramos got in a car and began driving, and that is when Officer Christopher Taylor opened fire on Ramos, who died at the scene. Brian.
And Tony, just to reiterate, you mentioned the officer expected to surrender at some point today into tonight?
That's right, Brian. This case, some level of coordination. As you can imagine, this is all rapidly developing this afternoon and really within the last few minutes. In fact, the arrest warrant was issued at 5:07 p.m. tonight. So as you can imagine, it takes some time for the officer to make it to downtown Austin and to surrender on that murder charge. That is typically the way these types of cases are handled. And so we are anticipating that some level of coordination will go on between prosecutors and his defense attorney, but likely you can anticipate that he will surrender to the Travis County Jail probably this evening, although possibly sometime tomorrow as well. A bond has been set for him by a Travis County State District judge on a $100,000 bond, Brian.
All right, Tony Plahetsky with the breaking news for us. Tony Plahetsky, thank you very much for that. Now, we do want to remind you of the moments leading up to that shooting that happened again, as Tony mentioned, last April. Back in July, Austin police releasing body cam video of the incident. Here's how it all unfolded.
Austin 911.
It's April 24th at 6:31 p.m. A 911 caller reports seeing a man and woman doing drugs inside of a car in the parking lot of an Austin apartment complex in Southeast Austin. The caller also says the man is holding a gun. Body cam video shows several Austin police officers gathering near the apartment complex to make a plan. Officers say the car involved is one they're familiar with.
Get your rifles ready.
Less than 10 minutes after the 911 call, 8 Austin police officers arrive at the apartment complex surrounding a gold and black Toyota Prius.
Do your hands right now! Hands out!
Michael Ramos is in the driver's seat.
Michael Ramos, you're going to listen to everything we say. You need to listen. Walk out. Walk out. Walk out towards me.
Several times we hear Ramos ask, "What's happening?" He does not follow officers' orders to walk toward them. About 3 minutes after police arrived, an officer shoots a less lethal round, hitting Ramos. That's when Ramos gets in his car.
Turn off the car! Turn off the car, Michael! Don't do it!
Ramos starts to drive away, and Officer Christopher Taylor fires his rifle 3 times. We paused the video because at least one of those shots from the rifle hit Ramos. Officers performed CPR at the scene. Ramos, though, died at the hospital. Investigators say he did not have a gun. Senior reporter Tony Plahetsky back with us. And Tony, of course, we saw a lot of protests in Austin last summer. Of course, the people supporting Michael Ramos' family, part of that. So the city of Austin definitely aware of this case going forward.
Absolutely, and as much as the protesters were talking about, obviously, the George Floyd's death in Minneapolis, many of them, Brian, I was out there for 2 days, particularly that first weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and so many of those protesters were saying Michael Ramos' name, carrying signs, wearing T-shirts with his name on them. Brian, one thing that is really striking about this is that this is the first time in at least my 2 decades here in Austin, but probably much longer, that an Austin police officer has been indicted on a charge of murder, the most serious crime in the Texas Penal Code. We have seen officers charged with other related crimes, for example, manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide, over the past couple of decades. Of course, those cases have been rare as well, but this is the first time that we have seen a grand jury go for the most serious crime under Texas law, a murder charge. And Brian, of course, will be working to understand the exact nature of the charge and potentially why grand jury selected that charge to go after. But from what I'm understanding, at least preliminarily, is that they really did not have many other options to choose from given the facts of this case and the circumstances of this case. That Officer Christopher Taylor, according to investigators, knowingly and intentionally fired at Michael Ramos. Of course, the big question, Brian, as this goes forward, will be what his potential defense is, what he believed gave him justification to fire his weapon and to use deadly force. That will be something that is litigated over the next few months and possibly years. These cases can often take a substantial amount of time as they go forward. But again, the striking thing is that we have not seen a murder charge for an in-custody, on-duty shooting in decades here in Austin. Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza, of course, ran on a platform of police accountability. Brian, he took office January 1st, and already this year, we have seen 2 other police officers get indicted on excessive force charges. Those 2 officers were involved in the same incident. That was a non-lethal incident. But Brian, again, Jose Garza really running on a platform to hold police officers accountable. He was resoundly elected in the Democratic primary runoff back over the summer. And so in many ways, this is an example, according to many people who have been keeping up with this, of him making good on that promise, to deliver on that campaign promise, to bring charges against police officers when he believes that their conduct was in violation of the law.
Significant charges. As always, Tony Plahetsky with the very latest. Tony, great work as always. Of course, we'll check back in with you as you learn more over the coming days and weeks in this case. Tony, thanks.
Absolutely.